Did Santa Claus is coming to town leave you wanting more secret origins of holiday icons? Well, look no further than the Easter Bunny is coming to town, Rankin-Bass's third attempt at telling the story of the Easter Bunny and all those Easter traditions like hiding Easter eggs, eating jelly beans, and the Easter Bunny coming to town on a train? Battle of the Network shows. Join Rick Brooks and Mike Kogel as they explore the TV of the 70s and 80s through hand-picked episodes of their favorite and not-so-favorite series.
Welcome to Season 10 of Battle of the Network shows. I'm Mike.
And I'm Rick. Hello, everyone.
And we're glad to be back. And happy Easter if you celebrate Easter. And if you don't, happy spring.
Either way, just happy anything.
Right. And we are going to be talking about an Easter special today, though, from our friends at Rankin-Bass.
That's right. This is our third visit to Rankin-Bass. Last season, we did Christmas in July. At least now we're doing Easter kind of in the month of Easter, which is good.
Right. And the Leprechaun's Christmas Gold.
Yes.
Of course, the gold standard for Rankin-Bass specials. The Leprechaun's Christmas Gold.
It was a no-brainer to start with that one.
You're right.
We're just chasing the success of that one, but we'll do our best.
And we were weighing this one or the Family Circus Easter, and I believe your kids voted for this one.
Yes. Now, I must admit, I don't think I gave them the option of the Family Circus Easter. I actually asked them to choose between the two Rankin-Bass Easters that we've watched. And I just kind of said, hypothetically, guys, if we were going to do an Easter show on the podcast, would you rather we did the first Easter Bunny or the Easter Bunny is coming to town? And right away, before I even finished it, they're like, the Easter Bunny is coming to town, and they started singing the song. So,
wow! So they knew this one.
Oh yeah, we've watched both of them several times.
Because then there's another one. There's the Peter Cottontail one.
Yeah, now that one I've seen a long time ago, but that one I don't have on DVD, so we've not watched that one together.
Okay. I wasn't too aware of the other.
Yeah, now that one is a traditional animation, as opposed to Easter Bunny is coming to town, the one we're going to talk about today, which is, of course, the animagic stop motion.
And, of course, here comes Peter Cottontail, involves time travel.
Yes.
And Vincent Price. So, two things you most associate with Easter.
Yeah, and two things that, when you put it that way, makes me more anxious to see it. So maybe I'll try to fit that one in, before it's too late, before we're too far removed from Easter. But I have not seen it this Easter season yet.
So we're doing the Easter Bunny is coming to town, a sequel of sorts to Santa Claus is coming to town.
Yes, and by of sorts, I guess you mean that they sort of took the formula and didn't bother acknowledging the original. Is that a fair statement?
They kind of acknowledge. I mean, the Fred Astaire character, Kluger, does talk about that he's come up in the world.
Okay, yeah.
From driving a mail buggy or whatever that thing
right.
was to driving a train. But then you learn that he was around for all this when he was a kid. So I guess, whatever, the holiday postal system, you still have to work your way back up to working at home.
Yeah, I guess we'll get into that, but that causes some real logic problems. In an otherwise tightly scripted episode, the fact that Fred Astaire's character is apparently the only one who ages.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. There might be a joke in there somewhere about the speed of the mail, the postal service, or maybe it defies time. I don't know, but I love Fred Astaire in these specials. Both the Santa Claus is coming to town and the Easter Bunny is coming to town. So no complaints.
Yeah. No, not at all. But they definitely do follow the formula of Santa Claus is coming to town.
They sure do, and I think very, very successfully. And part of the thing is exploring many of the traditions of Easter. I did want to ask you, Mike, do you have any special Easter memories? I mean, was Easter a big holiday for you growing up?
I felt like it was a secondary holiday. Sort of like, Christmas was a big one, and birthdays, if we're going to count that as a holiday. Obviously, all this revolves around getting gifts.
Of course.
So Easter, I would say, is third, and then Valentine's Day.
Right.
But I think because the Easter gifts are so Easter-centric, you don't just get toys. You get a bunny, and everything's a bunny, or a chicken or whatever. And, it's not quite as exciting. But it was still cool to get a basket and you got the candy. And I can tell you, here are things I liked. Candy. My favorite Easter gift was one year my brother and I each got a plush based on characters who I think were like on the Paws die, like on the boxes or something. Like his was a chicken and mine was like an anthropomorphic egg.
Wow.
Who I named Elmer. And he had it was pretty cool. He had his hair. It looked like French fries, but it was like egg yolk coming out of his head. Felt. But
Ooh, I don't remember these at all.
no, I've had trouble finding them too, like online. Just find pictures of them. But that was pretty cool. I'm not a big jelly bean fan, but the chocolate, of course, is good. I had a weird thing where I actually liked the hollow bunnies, which I know are actually terrible, but I guess because they were easy to eat or something.
Yeah, I like those too.
But then there's also, like, you usually got to go. Well, we went to church, and a lot of times went to someone else's house for a meal or something. And I don't know. It wasn't as fun. But and I haven't done anything for it in a very long time, other than look around for somewhere to eat and everything's closed or something.
Yeah, there's always a surprising amount of things that are closed on Easter Sunday. Like every year, like you go through, the routine of trying to remember if something's open that day or not.
You're right. Yeah.
You make a very good point, though, about, I like your point about the gifts being different. And of course, kids make a wish list for Santa Claus, but we don't do that to the Easter Bunny. I mean, he just pretty much has carte blanche, and he just kind of brings you, what he's going to bring you.
Right. And most kids are not excited by, like, a new outfit. I don't remember that being a big thing in our family, but it's one of the traditions they talk about here, so.
It is. For me, Easter was a dress-up day, but it wouldn't necessarily be new clothes. I guess for a lot of people, maybe that's their one time a year, like somebody in our 2 to 11-year-old demographic. That might be the one day of the year they do dress up to the nines, as it were. But
yeah, it was like a clip-on tie day.
Yeah. For me, we usually enjoyed secular Easter. But it was more formal than the other holidays. There was sort of like a little bit of a stiffness about it, partly because of the dressing up. I mean, I wasn't the clothes horse then than I am now. Say that, and of course today I'm wearing my Rankin-Bass T-shirt very proudly. But it was kind of a day to dress up. Maybe look for Easter eggs, and one thing we did for a while, we'd see like a lot of the relatives, like on one side of the family, my great grandparents. My great-grand stepmother, I think, we'd go to like their country club, and they'd have like kind of a buffet or fancy dinner, fancy lunch kind of thing for Easter. And I don't really remember much about that country club. I will tell you, my name's Rick Brooks, not Rick Stratton. We weren't really a country club kind of family, but I guess that would have been kind of a thrill for me. But I was too young to really appreciate it. So that and candy. I like the mini eggs, not the cream-filled ones or caramel-filled ones, but like the solid, multicolored little candy eggs that have the individual wrappers. That was kind of my thing. And anything chocolate and peanut butter I enjoyed, which I know you're not necessarily down with.
Not the peanut butter, yeah. Yeah, and the little eggs, the only thing with them is sometimes the tinfoil doesn't come off.
Right. Yes, that's true. Yeah, I'd always get a few bits of that every year. I'd take in. It probably built up to, the size of a couple good-size candy wrappers over the years. Probably accumulated in me.
Maybe this is what you mean by the filled ones, but the ones that are sort of like not the Cadbury ones, which I did enjoy those, but were sort of like the size of not a cassette tape, a little smaller than that, but and came in like a shiny foil wrapper and were sort of just weird like coconut kind of things.
Yeah,
and stuff like that.
I think that's what I'm talking about.
Russell Stover or something.
Yeah. I mean, really, I was a pretty simple man. I didn't need country club food. I didn't need fancy clothes. I didn't even need fancy chocolate.
Right.
But I made do, and it was a good day to be with family. But to me, I don't have as many strong memories of Easter as I do of other holidays. But you know what? One tradition was every Easter around the time trying to watch, the great Easter special, Easter Beagle Charlie Brown. But, we're not talking about that one today.
Yeah.
But I did watch this one, too. I did watch this one a couple of times, but not as much as the Charlie Brown one, I think.
Yeah, watching, I was like, oh, yeah, I've seen this. I know this. But, yeah, there weren't as many Easter specials as Christmas specials.
No, so it was kind of a treat when one did come on, and I think it was just I'm pretty sure the only reason I stopped watching this was because they just stopped showing it.
Now, I'll tell you, the one thing I didn't enjoy about Easter was dyeing eggs. Because like now I understand the magic of vinegar and all that it can do.
Mm-hmm.
But, it's not the best smell to be around for an hour or two. And you have this vision from specials like this and other things that your Easter egg is going to look amazing. And what it looks like is just like a couple of weird colors together.
Did you ever like write your name on it or something, or
Probably, yeah.
do put etchings of some kind on it?
Oh, yeah, like in the dye.
Yeah, and there's little like what the little copper holders,
just don't work at all.
Yeah, it was always this, that tension of not wanting to drop it or drop it in a bowl of something and splash it all over the place. We did that, and I guess I enjoyed it. Let me put it this way: I enjoyed it once a year. I wouldn't have wanted to do it regularly, and I also liked eating like hard-boiled eggs, so there was some kind of reward to it,
Once I learned that they were a good salt and pepper delivery device, I think I definitely enjoyed that.
There you go, yeah.
I enjoy peeling them. And this special sets a very high standard for peeling eggs that I don't think anyone could meet.
It really does. I mean, that's one of the more unrealistic things in the whole special.
Yes.
Which is saying something.
Right. Talking trains, fine.
Yes.
Peeling an Easter egg or a hard-boiled egg in one go? No.
Yeah, you're spot on with that one, yes.
So should we, I guess we should start maybe talking about this special here.
Yeah. Would you like to know when this premiered and maybe what else was on TV that night?
I would, because I might have run out of time to do research.
Okay, well, fortunately, this is one of the things I do like to do, and I have the information here. And there's some other interesting things that happened on television that night. So this was actually a pretty big night. The Easter Bunnies Come Into Town premiered April 6th, 1977, which was a Wednesday. It was on ABC. And as far as what else was on, let me go with NBC first. NBC had Grizzly Adams at 8. Then it was a tag team of CPO Sharkey and Sorota's Court with the late Michael Constantine, a show that many have thought was kind of a predecessor of Night Court. And then at 10 o'clock, Kingston Confidential with Raymond Burr. And I don't know if you've ever seen, I've never seen an episode of this, but Raymond Burr in it is like a big media mogul who solves crimes in his spare time with like a group of people on his staff. So that's what I actually do want to see.
I assume whatever executive greenlit that, clearly that was like easy to do. They were like, it was their secret dream. Like if they had the time to solve crimes, they would.
Right. Yeah, exactly. There's somebody higher up at the network.
Yeah.
See, he's a very charismatic and charming media executive. Go on, you have my attention.
That was the NBC, you said?
Correct. Now CBS for me was the kind of the traditional home of holiday specials. So sometimes it's easy to forget that some of these Rankin-Bass ones actually premiered on ABC. Like this one we're going to talk about did. But CBS had a repeat of Good Times, an episode of Loves Me, Loves Me Not, which was a Susan Day sitcom, didn't last very long, written by Susan Harris and by that whole like Whit Thomas Harris team that did soap. And then at 9 o'clock, they had the TV movie Something for Joey with Mark Singer as former Penn State running back and Heisman Trophy winner John Cappelletti. And this was kind of a weeper about Cappelletti had a younger brother who had leukemia. So it was kind of a heartwarming television movie that was, I think, very well known at the time. And I actually remember having, I think, the book. It was either, I think the movie was based on the book, or it was a book inspired by the movie. Anyways, I had that book when I was a kid. I was a Penn State fan, of course, growing up. So that was kind of a big deal on CBS. Now, ABC led off with The Easter Bunny Is Coming to Town again at 8. And of course, naturally, following that at 9 o'clock, you have Beretta, an episode of Beretta. Smooth transition there.
Right.
And, I should mention that Easter Bunny was preempting Bionic Woman. That would normally have been in that time slot, Wednesday at 8 o'clock on ABC, yeah. And at 10 o'clock was, I think it was only the second ever Barbara Walters special. And in this one, she had Liz Taylor, and I think it was maybe Senator John Warner was her husband at the time or something, but...
And the Easter Bunny? Did she
Yes.
interview the Easter Bunny?
She interviewed the Easter Bunny. But really, her thunder was stolen by Fred Astaire giving away all the secrets at 2 hours early, so yeah. It was kind of an awkward interview. But actually, the real awkward interview was between Barbara Walters and the Shah of Iran.
Oh yeah.
This became a notorious interview because she asked him about like the mental capabilities of women, and the Shah kind of made it clear he didn't think much of the mental capabilities of women, and his wife was right there at the time. So this was an interesting news-making interview, and one of several times that the Shah of Iran would sit down with Barbara Walters. So kind of an interesting night of television there.
This seems like an outlier, really. The special.
It really does, yeah. It just kind of plunking in, and it's April 6th. I'm assuming it was the Wednesday before Easter that year. That's the other thing about Easter Sunday. It changes. It's always Sunday, but you can't really tell. It's not the same day every year, so it kind of throws things off a little bit. And this was, like 4 or 5 years after Santa Claus is coming to town, I think.
And only 1 year after the first Easter.
Yeah. Yeah, I wonder what that says. Well, I mean...
I think, yeah, the Rankin-Bass and Romeo Mueller, they're like, we're going to get this one day. We're going to nail this mythology down.
I have seen the other one within the last... it was probably like 5 years ago was the last time I saw it. And I saw it with the kids, but I remember very little of it. And it's telling probably that, at least in my internal focus group, that there was no hesitation at all to take this one.
If only they had known about the family circus.
Well, that might have, maybe I stacked the deck a little bit. I didn't give them that option.
Literally, they probably don't even know about the family circus at all. Even with you as their dad.
Well, they'd better. I'm gonna find out pretty soon.
I mean, they're kids, so they're living in the family circus. But
true, and they always have the option of looking up at my glorious Battle of the Network shows banner and seeing Jeffy on that
right,
that piece of artwork.
And one of the voice actors in this did the voice of Santa Claus in the Christmas special. Alan Swift.
Oh yes, Alan Swift.
I think he's the train in this, right?
Yes, well, actually, I think he's Gadzooks, isn't he?
Oh, that's right.
And you and I love him for his work on the Total Television cartoons of the
yes,
of the '60s, of the King Leonardo, and there's Tudor Turtle.
Yeah.
Underdog. I think it was Simon Barr Sinister and Underdog.
Mm-hmm.
So I remember seeing that name a lot when I was a kid. Seeing his name in the credits.
I guess Paul Frees wasn't available.
No.
Because he's clearly doing the Paul Frees roles.
Yes.
I think he's the announcer at the beginning, too.
But a versatile voice actor in his own right.
Yes. Now, the voice actor who voices the Easter Bunny, whose a name I'm forgetting right at the moment, but his other big role was another anthropomorphic animal, Fritz the Cat. So...
that's not something you would necessarily expect.
No.
That's even more puzzling than the Beretta lead-in, Easter Bunny lead-in for Beretta. But yeah, I wonder, Mike, actually, nowadays, Fritz the Cat was probably 5 or 6 years before this, too. I don't remember what year that came out, but it was a while. But I wonder if that was even a thing, like, oh, hey, we can't... Because Fritz the Cat was X-rated at the time of its release. It wouldn't be today, but I wonder if you could even cast him in something like this today, if that would be a stigma attached to him.
I don't know. I mean, clearly it's not for, it seems like comedians and things and people who have, maybe not X-rated, but pretty blue material. Eddie Murphy did Shrek, so...
That's a good point.
Granted, he had started doing more family-friendly movies by then, but... it seems like they're willing to hire people or people who have versatile acting jobs. Adult in the sense of for adults, not adult in air quotes roles. So yeah, I don't know. Of course, I guess it would just depend. At least that was an animated movie. It wasn't, not performing the acts as far as we know.
Yeah, and I don't know how viable that property was. It was maybe a bit of a sensation for a while. But it was an underground comics character who probably wasn't widely known in the mainstream outside of that movie.
Exactly, yeah.
Skip Pennant, I think, who was also an actor, had started out as a child actor and was in various roles. He was in the Patty Duke Show for a while in a recurring role, and then I think kind of eased into doing primarily voiceover work.
But other than Fred Astaire, it's not maybe as full of recognizable people as some of the other specials.
That's for sure.
There's no Mickey Rooney.
Yeah. They're not reliant on the big celebrity voices as some of the other specials are. Like, the Rudolph and Frosty's Christmas in July was packed with more name performers than this one, but...
But it opens, I believe, exactly how Santa Claus is Coming to Town opens, with a sort of newsreel talking about the Easter Bunny and how he's coming. And there's a lot of footage of kids, prepping for Easter.
Live action footage.
Yeah, live action footage. And he's going to be riding in on his now famous steam train, steam engine. Yeah, which everyone knows about Easter. the Easter Bunny comes in on a train
Of course.
to leave uh, his wares.
Now famous, meaning hopefully it's going to be famous now because we made it up for this.
Right, yeah. Boy, I mean, I think we've brought this up before, but if they had been into the merchandising game back then,
Oh,
the train, that would have been on everybody's Easter basket list.
that's right. And then they would have just written their list and just kind of crumpled up and threw it away because,
Right.
there was no address to send it to.
Yeah. Although, according to this, the Easter Bunny gets almost as much mail as Santa Claus.
I was skeptical of that, but, everything else in here checks out, so
Right.
I guess that must be true.
Yeah. And then we meet the famous train who's talking, and Fred Astaire is with him, or Kluger. And the train his name is Chugs. And he's also the little engine that could from stories. I like, there's only so much you can do with a talking train, but at least his face moved, unlike a certain famous British train.
Right. Yeah, I mean, they sort of find a thing for Chugs and stick to it and make him a pretty effective character with that. So yes, I like the train in this.
He says everything in a chugging way, like Easter eggs. And then Fred explains that, kids mail in these questions, and then we hear some of the questions, and those are questions, I think, mostly that get answered through the story. And then he sings a new song for the special called The Easter Bunny is Coming to Town, and I really enjoyed this song.
It's a great song.
It has like it's sort of easy listening, but it like swings, man. He'll say a line, and then there's a little thing that punctuates each line. It just really hooks you in.
I wonder if it was written knowing that Fred Astaire would be singing it, because it seems like it's perfectly designed for his style of singing. It's the singing that he used in his movies, and it's just a very laid back, casual kind of singing that fits kind of the easygoing tone of the song. And it establishes the setting, gets you in the mood for Easter, but it's just very charming and fun to listen to. So I really like this. I think it's one of the better Rankin-Bass songs, I'd even say. And, Fred Astaire is great. And right away, we know, hey, this is going to be an enjoyable hour with Fred at the helm. And it's a great song. And with Astaire, who, I think in a different world, I love all the narrator characters. So I wouldn't want him necessarily to be the narrator in all of them, but in a different world, maybe he could be like the Stan Lee of the Rankin-Bass universe, and this character would have made appearances in, multiple ones. With this, like, kind of postal gimmick, they easily could have done that, if they had been thinking that way at the time.
That would have been good. And I agree. I mean, it's hard to rank anyone above Burl Ives, too, but I would put them equal.
Yeah, well, Burl Ives, I could see in pretty much anything, yes.
And isn't he the narrator of the first Easter?
Yes, he is.
I did do research.
Well, you know what? When you said you might not have done research, maybe what you meant was there's an unfortunate lack of information about this around. There's just not a lot of in-depth coverage that I've seen floating around about this special. So, I think we might have a little bit more conjecture than normal, because normally we're entirely fact-driven in this podcast.
Right.
But
Yeah.
But yes, good call. Yes, Burl Ives is right up there. But Fred Astaire, I think, deserves to be in the pantheon as well. And in this song, I agree. Just a wonderful song and a great way to kick off the special.
And then he starts to tell the story, and it began on the other side of Big Rock Mountain in a village called Kidville. I don't know why I'm doing this voice for Fred Astaire, because it doesn't sound like him. But
it's a little folksy.
Yeah.
Not quite as elegant, but maybe just as folksy. Would you settle for that?
Yeah, sure. Anyway, Kidville is inhabited only by children. They're all orphans, and there's a kid mayor, a kid cop, a kid fireman, a kid mailman who's Fred Kluger, and many other jobs, as we come to learn. And the only issue they have to deal with, other than no adult supervision, which clearly they've overcome by becoming adults.
Right.
Except for in age, is Gadzooks the bear, who lives on the mountain, and he comes down and ruins holidays. But other than that, they all worship the Lord in their own way, and they all share everything. So they're not strict communists, but I would say they are kind of communist, right?
Yeah, it seems like they've got some kind of collectives for doing things, and yeah. Although, sort of defying that part of it, I did want to point out that this line here, and in a little bit of a moment shortly after that. The everybody worship the Lord in their own way is kind of one of the only explicitly religious references in the special. And I was sort of looking for it this time because I think I read some review on IMDb or something where somebody trashed it and said it was way too religious, you know? And I'm like, what? Way too religious? I mean, for one thing, it's Easter, it's a religious holiday, and another thing, I think they really kind of subtle about, you know, religious aspects with only a few, like, kind of blatant discussions of it, and this being one of them.
Yeah, and even some of the other ones I feel like fit the spring sort of theme too, like the idea of rebirth and everything. I mean, there's kind of a reason that whoever the church of old chose to put Easter in this time of year, unless you believe it actually happened on this. But you know,
I mean, you could see this as more like nature and kind of thing if you're looking at it that way. Now, there is one other sequence coming up that sort of hits that home, and then after that, it really kind of goes away, whether you're looking for it or not.
there are no crucifixions or resurrections.
No, there's not.
Yeah, and in fact, it's all taking place in that weird Rankin-Bass early 20th century America
Yes.
/ Europe.
Right. Yes. Yes, like every Main Street USA is seemingly less than a mile away from like a European village.
Right. So yeah, it did not strike me as it's as religious at all. And it's and it's so focused on the things that like secular Easter would celebrate too, the rabbits and the eggs and the candy and new outfits, of course, that you just wear. Oh, you wore to the country club.
Yes, I did. Yeah.
Yeah, and so the kids find a bunny who's also been orphaned, and he likes the sun, so they name him Sunny. And because he's a rabbit and they grow faster, after a year he's already fully grown. Although he's also grown up like a kid, so he talks and he's already become a town leader. This might be probably the second time I laughed very loudly when they have a little board meeting of
Yeah.
all the town elders, and there's a rabbit at the head of the table.
Yeah, and kind of going against maybe the formerly more communistic ethos of the town. He wants expansion.
Yes, well, when he was still a little bunny, he met Art Vandelay, who told him about the importance of imports and exports.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's feeling like they should start exporting some of their goods in exchange for goods that they need.
And of course, with him personally handling the importing and the exporting,
yes,
there's all kind of potential for him to do all kind of side businesses out of this. But
right,
I'll take him at his word. He wanted, more exchange of goods and services. I guess mostly goods is what he's talking about. But
yeah, if it's just goods, I mean, is that going? I'm not a communist. I mean, like communist countries still have to export that. I mean, I know China, whatever it is now, is a little different, but they certainly do a lot of exporting.
They do, but I guess it depends on if if you think he seems like he wants to do this because they need other things. But to me, it doesn't seem like they need a whole lot. It seems to me like he does it because his main thing is just making it grow and get bigger and, and more prosperous, which, I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that, of course, but that's a little bit more than just, banding together in like a commune kind of setting and using what you need and needing what you use.
True. Yeah. Okay. Well, sometimes you need a new perspective to change.
I'm willing to bet that of all the things that writer Romeo Muller put in this special, this is not one of the things he thought we'd spend 5 minutes talking about years from now.
Right. Well, I mean, Sonny doesn't say this, but the sort of elephant in the room, too, is that if Kidville's ethos is that everyone has to be kids, well, at some point, there's not going to be a population anymore, unless more kids get orphaned and find their way to Kidville.
Yeah. Now, it's possible that maybe they're reliant on the village because in town, which we'll get to, they say that you're pretty much kicked out, right, as soon as you have... I mean, it's not like...
But the adults are kicked out, too, so I was thinking that, too, like, this is where all the kids are going from town. But if the adults are kicked out, I mean, unless the adults are choosing, like, well, I'd rather stay in this miserable place than have my kids, so we'll just send them over to Kidville.
Maybe the kids go to Kidville and the adults go to Adultville.
Oh, yeah.
Which is right near Times Square, I think, at the time.
Yeah. That's where Sonny was supposed to end up.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah, there are a lot of sort of questions about the whole Kidville thing that maybe don't get answered. You need another special to address those.
Yes.
But, they do have time to address which came first, the chicken or the egg, in song form, performed by the three chickens that lay the eggs, because they have very special eggs, and that's what Sonny, they land on exporting eggs. So somebody wants to know whether the chicken or the egg came first, and they sing this song, and they seem pretty definitive that the chicken came first.
Yes, the Hendro sisters, I think it is, and they base their reasoning not on being chickens,
Right.
but on the story of Noah's Ark,
Mm-hmm.
because chickens came on Noah's Ark and had eggs. Now, I will say here, this might be as good a time as any to mention that wife of the show, Lori, was not enamored with this special. She found it far inferior to Santa Claus is Coming to Town. I liked it much more than she did, and this was one thing that annoyed her right off the bat, because she's a firm believer that the egg came first.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think she was happy with the definitive way the special presents it as being the other way. So,
Well, it's not a very good explanation anyway, because where did those chickens come from that got on Noah's Ark?
yeah,
He didn't create the chickens and stick them on there. He gathered them from existing chickens.
right, right. Well, it is a catchy song, though.
It is a catchy song. They're just very confident in their belief.
They sure are, yeah. But, I mean, they are chickens, so, I was kind of talking to her. I was like, well, you'd think they would know a little bit more than like we would. They being chickens and we're not.
Yeah.
But,
You think chickens would be discussing that even more than people are?
yeah. Well, they had a pretty quick answer for it, to be fair. The song and everything, so maybe they have spent some time. So, yeah, I agree. They probably spent quite a while thinking about this, but...
They got to do something while they're sitting on their duffs.
Yeah.
Waiting for that egg to come out. And then they find Sonny. He's boiling eggs for to take on his trip Easter morning to wherever he's going to take eggs, and he's boiling them to keep them safe. So that makes sense. That's a pretty good explanation for the hard-boiled egg, I think.
Makes sense to me. That works.
And then he heads off Easter morning, and he's in the woods, and he trips over a vagrant. It turns out to be a guy named Hallelujah H. Jones, and at first I thought, oh, maybe his character was a little bit like the fox and the cat in Pinocchio. Like he was going to send Sonny astray.
Yes.
And then it turns out he's actually he's got a lot of good answers.
Yeah, he seems shady at first, and I hope it's not just me being biased against somebody from a different socioeconomic
Right.
stratus. I mean, me being a country club goer, of course, and Hallelujah Jones being kind of having a ragamuffin look about him and being a drifter.
Yeah.
I had the same thought, but no, he turns out to be a real friend.
Right. And so he says that, Sonny should go to the last place he was, which is town. Just town. That seems to be the name of it. So, and meanwhile, Hallelujah, I'm going to call him Hal from now on because I'm having trouble saying that. He's going to go hang out in Kidville, which it's good to find out that, even though it's Kidville, they will accept adults as visitors at least.
I like that, yes.
So Sonny gets to the top of the mountain, and there's Gadzooks the bear. And Sonny loses his eggs, and he runs to town, and this is, again, the sort of European town, complete with the same sorts of, what we call them, Austro-Hungarian soldiers that you had in the Meisterburger's town.
It's like Rankin-Bass saves all the sets and costumes from these specials and reuses them.
Right. Well, they're pretty small.
Yeah.
Just, put them in a cabinet. And much like that town, everybody seems to be pretty miserable. It's very gray and blah. And the town is, well, we mentioned it has this law against children. But then it's weird because you learn that the town is ruled by King Bruce the Frail, who is a child, and his aunt, the Dowager Duchess Lily Longtooth, who is the one really, with the real power.
Right, she's pulling the strings.
And the only thing people eat are beans, which right there, all these other laws aside, that would just be, I think that would make everyone miserable.
Yeah, it's no wonder everyone's unhappy.
They didn't even have rice to make it a full protein.
Good point, yeah. Yeah, it's a very drab existence in town.
And Bruce, he doesn't want to be king, which is understandable, given that he has no power and he has to eat beans.
There's no joy in his life.
No. You would think at least the king, kings are above the law. He could have something else.
Yeah. I mean, I guess he sets a good example for his subjects, but
Yeah, I guess that's her point, right? But I don't know.
I give him some credit for a little bit of integrity for not doing something that he doesn't ask everybody else to do. But yeah, it's not a pleasant place, this town.
So back in Kidville, Hal suggested dyeing eggs to disguise them from gadzooks. Now, every time Sonny goes to town, it's a new Easter, right?
That's right.
So we get something like 5 years worth
Yeah.
of it, assuming this one, I'm almost want to give him the benefit of the doubt and say, well, this one wasn't a whole year, but it could have been. So anyway, Sonny dyes the eggs and he goes over the mountain and he tells Gadzooks that they're just colored stones, and Gadzooks like bah. And Sonny runs and he crashes into some soldiers and gives them Easter eggs, and they're very suspicious of the idea of eating these. And then we get another song. Well, Sonny explains that if people didn't try other foods, then we'd still be eating leaves and flowers. And then we get the song that someone's got to be first.
Yeah. The first man to eat an oyster.
Yes.
It's another catchy song, and probably this song, I'm sure, delighted parents of picky eaters everywhere.
Uh-huh. Well, and, I think this is a more interesting question than the chicken and the egg thing, frankly. It's always that thing of like, who's the first person that drank milk from an animal or decided to let some milk spoil and turn it into cheese or whatever.
Right. And eating like a pickle. I mean, that's kind of a dill pickle. That's kind of a weird thing when you think about it. We take it for granted now, but yeah, at first.
Right. Someone had to figure that out.
Yeah.
And is it just like, like you see a dog or something, like just kind of stick stuff in their mouth because it smells good?
Yeah.
I don't know. And so it's a fun song, and we see somebody eat an oyster and they find a pearl, and the pearl leads to love, and so it's more than food there, and somebody's got some pickles and doesn't like the taste of them, and someone finds a salt mine and doesn't see much worth, but the salt and the pickles together, and then you got actual pickles.
Yeah.
And then potatoes and onions. I didn't get what the... I guess it was the beginning of economy.
Yeah.
They trade the potatoes.
Making potatoes O'Brien? I don't know.
Yeah. So the soldiers try the eggs and they like them, and the citizens like them, and people are happy. And some kid out in the audience, asks, what about hiding the eggs? And Kluger says that's going to come later. Don't get ahead of yourself.
Yeah, I was wondering that myself, but I gotta be patient.
Yeah. And he meets the King Bruce, who dubs him the Easter Bunny, Royal Knight of the Rainbow Eggs. And because they're not ordinary eggs, they come up with a series of rituals for eating the eggs. So you hold it up, you look at it, and you say, ooh, isn't that pretty? And then you say, seems a shame to eat it. You think about it a little more, and then you say, heck, that's what Easter eggs are for.
Yeah.
And you peel it, hopefully all in one go, nibble at the white, you consider the yolk, you sniff it, you think about the magic of where it came from, and then you eat that. And the kids in the audience are like, that's exactly what we do.
Right. Yes, this is clearly intended as a bit of wry observational humor by old Romeo. But that's not how I ate eggs in my house. I just kind of like tore into them best I could and just ate them. I mean, I certainly didn't eat around and save the yolk for last. Never did that.
No, I mean, you have to get to it, but you could always cut the egg in half or whatever. I find it best when you got a little bit of both.
Yeah, and I think, as I recall, we dyed our eggs a little bit ahead of time, so they were sitting there, like maybe in a big bowl or something, so we had plenty of time to admire them before eating them, so that wasn't part of the ritual either for us.
Yeah. And we've already discussed the peeling at great length. I think part of the ritual is just like, oh, come on.
Yeah. I think I probably had even more eggshell pieces in me than tinfoil pieces over the course of many Easters.
Right. So the Aunt Lily comes in and she's not pleased at all, and she chases Sonny away, and she insists right then on a law banning eggs, especially Easter eggs. And she sends Bruce to bed, and Sonny sneaks back in, and he says next Easter he'll bring back special Easter beans. So over the next year, Sonny and Hal and town chef Herbert work on it until they finally land on the jelly bean. And Sonny heads back out to deliver the the eggs and the jelly beans, and of course runs into Gadzooks, who says, "I hate colored stones," and he throws the basket
Yes, he does.
very far.
Total chaos there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But the eggs land back near Kidville, where the kids are finding eggs and having a good time. And Sonny decides that from now on in Easter, he'll hide the eggs. So now we know that.
Yep, that's how that tradition got started.
Yeah, and so, but he didn't make his delivery that year, I guess.
Don't you think that tradition would be even more fun if you had, like, instead of like hiding them ahead of time, you'd have like an adult take all the kids' eggs and just throw them as far as they could and make the kids go find them that way?
Yes, or even better, a bear.
Yeah, right.
A talking bear. Every town has a talking bear that throws the eggs. Yeah, I mean, I guess the advantage of an adult hiding them is that you know where they are in case
Yeah,
the kids don't find them. But yeah, I agree. So anyway, over the course of the next year, I guess, Sonny, he gets all the kid tailors in town together.
Yeah, you wouldn't think that would be a thriving business in Kidville.
No, I mean they need clothes, but the population doesn't seem like it's that big. Especially because later we find out there's a seamstress and they're mini pillow stuffers.
Right.
I guess you get to Kidville and they don't, immediately have a specific job for you. They just make you a pillow stuffer.
Yeah, yeah. That's where they all end up. Yeah.
But anyway, he the tailors work all night on this special thing, and Sonny heads out, with the stuff, the delivery. He gets Gadzooks to chase him down the mountain, and all the kids are waiting, and they tell him Happy Easter, and they have a suit for him that the tailors made, and not just any suit. The suit has an orange vest, red pants, a sort of yellow and brown plaid coat with some fancy collars, a striped shirt, a tie, a boater hat, and a cane. They explain so he can look pretty for Easter, and Gadzooks breaks down crying because this is the first Easter outfit ever.
Mm-hmm.
And Gadzooks explains, "Oh, nobody loves Gadzooks." And Sonny tells him, "Well, you got to like yourself before you can expect anyone else to." I'm not sure how I feel about that advice, but it's more really you got to stop being a jerk.
Yeah. I think he probably could have started with that. He took a much gentler approach than I was thinking was warranted there, but it's a nice message.
I think it is good to like yourself.
Right.
I'm just saying that if sometimes people don't like themselves because people don't love them.
Yeah,
That's
but
a
they
chicken
don't.
and the egg thing.
Right. Yeah. Well, I just I kind of see where Sonny was coming from, but in this case, Gadzook's behavior was reprehensible. Credit to Sonny for seeing past that and kind of giving him the benefit of the doubt and thinking, well, maybe people will love you if you love yourself first, and the self-loathing that's caused all this. So, at any rate, the suit. And what a suit it is. Yeah. This gift overwhelms Gadzook so much that he really, turns babyface right here, and unfortunately is rather minimized the rest of the special.
Yeah. There's Hal sings a song about this idea and how he's got the short end of the wishbone, all of this, and just in the course of the song, he gets a girlfriend.
Yeah.
So really, I think what Sonny saw was not just that Gadzooks could be nice, but that he's really quite the dandy.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. I don't know if it was any newfound sense of self-esteem that attracted the female bear, but it was probably the threads.
Yeah.
Because that's one sharp-looking bear when he gets this outfit on.
Right, yeah. So in town, the townspeople love finding the eggs and eating jelly beans. And, of course, Lily's looking out the window and she sounds the alarm. And luckily, Sonny and Herbert and the girl escape. And then for the next Easter, the kids make Easter eggs and jelly beans and new outfits. And the candy maker, who you think would have been involved in the jelly bean thing, but whatever.
Yeah.
He's making Sonny's secret weapon.
Mm-hmm.
So we don't know what that is yet. And Hal explains that Sonny really needs to work on Bruce. He needs to give him a friend to give him courage when Sonny's not around.
To stand up to the Duchess.
Yes.
Stand up to Lily, yes.
Right. When Sonny's there, Bruce seems to be like, oh, yeah, I want to do this. I want to change things. And then Sonny heads off to the town seamstress and the pillow makers.
Mm-hmm.
And they head out some soldiers are waiting for them. But Sonny expected this, and he has Plan E for Easter, and they roll eggs downhill, and the soldiers fall down. And then maybe you'll be able to clarify some of this for me.
I doubt it, but go ahead.
He seems to jump into a paper bag, and the soldiers take it because they can feel Bunny inside it. And when they get to town and open it, it turns out there's a chocolate bunny, and they get excited and they eat the bunny. And meanwhile, Easter delivery has happened, and the people are so happy that they hold the first Easter parade. But he did jump into the bag, right?
I thought so at first. I can't explain that. Because clearly he's not, in there when they open it.
Right, and he's not behind it.
Yeah, I thought the whole thing was like some kind of like thing to smuggle him past, but no.
Yeah.
Well, next year I'll watch that part closely again. My next annual viewing of it, I guess.
Right. There's some sleight of hand there that we
missed.
And he gives some stuffed toys to Bruce. So that's where the Easter stuffed animals come from.
A lot of firsts here in this. You get the first chocolate bunny. We had the explanation of rolling eggs down the hill, which, that wasn't really a thing for me growing up.
No.
The first Easter parade. And so a lot going on here.
This is a big year.
Yeah.
And Bruce gives him permission to come to town anytime he wants for any reason. But then Lily comes in again. She's always there right at the wrong time and disagrees. And unfortunately, Bruce caves again. He can't quite stand up to her.
Yeah, it's disappointing. I expected more from old King Bruce.
So Lily gives her soldiers carte blanche.
You know what? I think carte blanche was one of the like a fancy crepe thing they had at the country club every Easter. I did enjoy that. There was like a special sauce on it. That was good. So it was kind of nice of her to give the guards that.
Right. Right. I mean, that's breaking the law, but
right.
Whatever's gonna at this point, right? Whatever's gonna stop this darned bunny. So right before the next Easter, the soldiers trip Gadzooks, who breaks his big toe and can't help out. They're going to use him to help deliver things. And so Hal has an idea, quote, better than a giant bear, which is to build a railroad over the mountain. So he sends all the animals out with messages to all his hobo buddies. And, as part of a way to entice them there, he lies and says the name of the mountain is Big Rock Candy Mountain.
Yeah, to get his fellow Gandy dancers.
Right, yeah.
Which apparently is hobo slang for railroad workers.
Yeah.
So, at first it seems like this is Hal's scheme to get all his hobo friends employed, but then it seems like it's a scheme to get free labor from his hobo friends.
Right. And it works.
Yeah.
And we get a very short version of the song, Big Rock Candy Mountain. Now, also, I know there are definitions, and I believe the definition of hobo includes that they were drifters, but they worked. But, it is interesting that Kidville's plan is to bring a bunch of hobos to town.
Yeah.
Just, you don't hear a lot of modern municipalities.
No.
Doing that.
Hobos welcome.
Right.
I wonder what happens to the hobos after the railroad is built.
Yeah. Where did they go? They established Hoboville.
Yeah. Yeah.
But they do get this railroad built in a very quick time. And now all they need is a train. So that, Hal explains, well, you just got to go to the rail yard to hire one. Now, again, there are questions like, where is this rail yard? Because it seems like Kidville and town are the only places around.
Right.
But there's a rail yard. So so they go there, and they have to deal with a bunch of snooty engines who don't want anything to do with them. And they find Chugs. He's kind of rusty and sitting all alone. And he sings the train yard blues along with the chickens, the hens. Help him out there. And they give him a job, and he cleans himself up, and he's ready to go. And they're chugging along on their way up the mountain, and Fred sings another nice song called "All You Have to Do Is Think Can Do." And the Lily, who tells the soldiers to play dirty, and she has them spread melted butter on the tracks.
Oh man.
Yeah, traction problems.
Oh.
Luckily, Hal's there, and he throws a bunch of jelly beans on the butter, and that gives Chugs the traction he needs to get past there.
And no great loss in my book, because I was never a big jelly bean fan. So
no,
didn't shed any tears over seeing all the jelly beans wasted on the the butter. So I got jelly beans were nice basket filler, and I think I would have maybe a handful every Easter just because what the heck, but not something I want as part of my regular life.
No, and there's always the risk of the licorice one.
Yeah.
Unless you're one of those people who likes it, but no, I guess you just don't. You learn the lesson at some point. I'm not going to eat that. But you feel like you're wasting it then. You got a bag of jelly beans, you're leaving one behind.
Yeah, it's like, it's candy, you're given candy by the Easter Bunny, so take advantage of this holiday and eat it up, right? But
now, I have had Jelly Bellies, and those are pretty good. There's a little more going on there. But, your standard Brock's jelly beans don't do it for me.
Keep those for the kids of Kidville and Doctor Who. Didn't he really like jelly beans too, I think so.
Well, I think he liked Jelly Babies, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
He and Ringo, I think. Now, I might start carrying jelly beans around just in case my car gets stuck.
Yeah. That's I hadn't thought of that, but...
Throw some under the tires.
Right, for traction.
Yeah.
Pretty economical way to, winterproof your vehicle.
Yeah.
Just have a big bag of jelly beans in the trunk.
Right. Stick some in your treads.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So, and Lily, gets mad. She's like, what are we going to use now? And one of the soldiers said that's salt for all the nummy Easter eggs.
Mm.
And she sort of gives up at that point. She's not going to be able to overcome this revolution. And Bruce and Sonny give her a flower, which they've named after her, is the Easter lily. And then we get a reprise of Easter bunnies coming to town, and that's it.
Yeah, Lori was disappointed. She was expecting and kind of hoping for more backstory with Lily. She thought we'd get something as to why she was the way she was, and they kind of allude to it. I mean, she gets emotional when she gets the flower, and doesn't she say something about it reminds her of how things used to be before everything, and she just kind of gets too emotional. She can't finish it. So she has some kind of traumatic past that has made her turn against everything that is good and pleasurable. But touched by this gesture, she's changing her ways, it looks like.
Yeah, she and Gadzooks might have a little in common.
I think so. And there's a great last shot of Sonny. Just kind of right after the song, there's one final shot of him just with his hands out, there you go, I enjoyed that.
Right. An interesting look at Easter, I think.
I liked it. I mean, again, it's another great Rankin-Bass script that takes a lot of traditions and it works them into a story pretty well. I think there's a lot of odd elements that, for me, this works quite a bit. It's enjoyable. There's some odd things, and I did find it disappointing that Gadzooks was kind of sidelined after the broken toe. I thought they could have integrated him a little bit more into the main action, but he was also responsible for a lot of these Easter traditions, so I think it's a big success. I really like this.
Yeah, I think I liked it a lot more than I expected, because I think last year I had watched the Peter Cottontail one. I started watching this thinking it was that one, and then I was disappointed that it wasn't.
Ooh.
Because that one, the Peter Cottontail, sounded so crazy. So then I found that and had watched all of that, and I like that too, but you got to do a lot of work to understand that one too. It's a complicated mythology there too. I do like that this, even though we don't see Santa or anything, is clearly in the main Rankin-Bass shared cinematic holiday universe.
Yes, definitely, and a worthy member of that universe, I think.
Yeah, I would have liked to see Sonny team up with some of these other people.
I did think it was weird that Sonny, him being Sonny, I don't know, I'm used to male Sonny being Sonny, like Sonny Corleone or, Sonny from It's a Living, I think the piano player.
Sonny Bono.
Yes, Sonny Bono. Yeah, Sonny Crockett.
Mm-hmm.
So it was a little weird for me. It kind of bothered me a little bit, actually, but, just kind of something, especially when you're watching it with the subtitles, as I do, and see it over and over again. Which reminds me that, I'm glad you mentioned that the guards mentioned the nummy eggs, because I believe the subtitle said yummy eggs.
Oh.
And I was watching that thinking, no, I believe he said nummy. He called them nummy eggs. So thank you for confirming that for me.
I do what I can.
Yeah.
I think the animagic is really good. There's some cool designs. I already mentioned the train, and of course, we know they can do Fred Astaire well. And they are good at making miserable towns.
Yeah.
And main streets, both of those. And,
I think the songs in this, to me, are a little bit more memorable even than some in the other specials. And I think there's at least 3 songs that I really like in this one. And, as soon as we decided to do this special, I think I've been singing the theme song around the house ever since we decided to do this. So yeah, it's. I think the theme song is a winner. Fred Astaire is a winner, and it's a very enjoyable look at a holiday that doesn't get as much cartoon attention as some of the other ones we've talked about on the podcast.
And Gadzooks is a winner.
Gadzooks is a winner, especially once he gets that suit on and becomes a sharp-dressed bear. He's great.
I want that song in there. Sharp-dressed bear.
Yeah.
Have 3 of him dancing with the cane, kind of like the little cold misers.
That would work.
Rankin-Bass, they're fond of a boater hat.
You're right, they are, aren't they? With good reason, but it is something that stands out, yeah.
I do wonder sometimes if people ever actually wore those in just general life. They must have, but
at some point, yeah.
Strolling along the promenade in the summer.
Right.
Maybe taking a rowboat out in the pond or something.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I wasn't exposed to that a lot growing up, but I was probably in the wrong place and time. So I like to think that there was a simpler place and time where that was common. And Rankin-Bass is one of the best ways to take us to these simpler places and times. And yet they make them entirely convoluted and complicated with their odd explanations for things. They both explain everything and raise a dozen more questions for everything. That's one of the things. That's what I love about these.
Yes, and to reiterate some of the questions about Kidville, what happens when the kid becomes an adult?
Right.
Does anyone have fun there?
Right.
They seem very busy just having jobs.
You're right. Until Sonny comes along, they are very work focused. There's not a lot of leisure time there, apparently.
Maybe we don't see it. Maybe there is. Maybe the kid carnival comes to town every year.
Yeah. Maybe that's why they embrace this so much, because there's all this pent-up desire for fun that comes out, and oh, hey, jelly beans and rolling eggs down hills.
That's one thing I kind of expected, maybe, the people, the adults of town would adopt the kids from Kidville. The two towns would kind of merge.
Yeah, yep.
Which maybe happened, but they didn't tell us if it did. The adults were definitely happy to see kids. That was definitely fulfilling something missing in their lives. So, yeah, and I guess if they don't age, which also seems to be the case, then you don't age out. Because, again, we have 5 years pass, and the only person that ages is Sonny.
Yeah. Maybe once they leave Kidville, they do age.
Oh, yeah.
So maybe, the kids, can only make these, short trips to town, but they have to come back, or else or maybe they age a little bit once they go to town and then come back and I don't know.
Well, that's how it often is, right? You go to town and you learn some hard lessons and you age a little bit.
Yeah.
Does Kidville still exist? In the present day where he's telling the story. That's interesting questions out there. But yeah, I enjoyed it overall. Glad we did it. I would have enjoyed the family circus, I'm sure, too.
Mm-hmm. Well, we always enjoyed the family circus, but we always enjoy Rankin-Bass, too.
It seems like Easter would have been a time where the family circus maybe would have done one of the Billy map.
Oh, totally. Yeah.
Yeah. Saving it up for the special day.
Yeah, the special day when they rolled out the map was known as Sunday.
Yes.
Bill Keane would only use that on special occasions, and that would be Sundays.
Sundays, yeah. Okay, so welcome to season 10 again.
Thanks to everybody for waiting for us, and we've got a lot of great stuff. And I know our younger demographic is going to be very happy, I think, this season, Mike. But we've got a little something for everybody. I think it's safe to say we got really good things coming after this Easter special.
Yeah, we do have some exciting things for that 2 to 11-year-old demographic, and for the older folks, the 12 to.
Yes, we appeal to both Kidville and town.
That's right. We were banned in town for a while.
Yeah.
No podcasts at all.
All right, but we're back. We've got crossover appeal.
Right. And as always, if you feel like supporting us, we have a TeePublic store. You can find a link there at our website and battleofthenetworkshows.com, where you can also find a lot of fun articles, and mostly written by Rick. Something almost every day there.
Yes, and of course, past episodes of the podcast, that's one place to find them. And also, you can write to us at mailbag@battleofthenetworkshows.com if you have any answers to some of these Easter questions or suggestions for future shows. Anything else, that's where you can write us, as well as joining our Facebook group is a good way to get a hold of us, right, Mike?
Correct. Or you can, send a letter to care of Battle of the Network Shows to S.W. Kluger.
Yeah.
He'll get it to us. Or he'll just answer the questions himself.
Yeah, that kind of would make things easier for us, wouldn't it?
Yes, right. Battle of the Network Shows is coming to town.
Tell you what, send the 5-star reviews and positive feedback to us, and you can send Kluger the nitpicks and bad reviews and negative comments.
Yeah, he'll find a positive spin on it. Well, we'll be back next week with more.
This episode brought to you by Town. Visit Town right now and get a free I Heart Town t-shirt while supplies last. This episode also brought to you by Gadzooks for Bears, the latest in fashion, accessories, and notions for bears. This episode also brought to you by Kidville, where a kid can be a teacher, fireman, police officer, baker, candy maker, tailor, seamstress, pillow stuffer, doctor, plumber, lawyer. Do they have those? What if a kid has their heart set on being a stockbroker, huh? Join us next time for another exciting episode of Battle of the Network Shows. Learn more, leave feedback, and suggest future episodes at battleofthenetworkshows.com. Follow us on Twitter at BatNetShows and like our Facebook page, facebook.com/Battle of the Network Shows.